Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money. But I promise you, this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is episode 78 of the Profit and Prosper podcast. I am really excited for you all to listen to today's episode because it's an interview with one of my favorite people, like favorite people ever. She's one of my clients, but also a friend. We also went on a retreat together accidentally in May. Like, we both separately signed up for this retreat without knowing that each other was going. And she and I are so similar in so many ways. And it was just really fun to get to know her even more and in a different way on the retreat. So anyways, my interview today is with Sharise Johnson, the owner of SMJ Communications. SMJ is a full-scale strategic communications firm that provides support and consultation to schools, districts, and education nonprofits. Sharise has been one of my clients, one of our CFO clients, for a couple of years now, and we have been with her since she was in, low six-figure revenue, but growing quickly with a team of contractors, billing by the hour, to seven-figure business, that grew very rapidly with a solid team, high profit margins. And she's also taking some of those profits and investing it. You'll hear her talk about her real estate investments that she's made in this episode. And I wanted to have her come on because she's done a thing that so few women business owners do, and that is, scaling their business up. Just so few people statistically make it where she's made it, and she's done it so well. And honestly, all the things that you guys hear me talk about on here, she has done. You're going to hear her in this episode talk about all the things that she did to optimize offers and pricing and hiring, leading a team, and scaling, and how she's had to take care of herself, and like all the things that I talk about, like she is embodying those things. And so I really wanted to have her come on just so you could hear from somebody who has done the thing. It's not just me like making these things up. It is possible to do the things that I'm saying and come out on the other side better. Sharise is one of our CFO clients over at Young & Co., but walking with her through this process of scaling her business up, while she's about a year ahead of me, I would say, in where she is in her business, is something that very heavily inspired the framework behind the Millionaire CEO Incubator. So all of the things that I have seen her do, that we have helped her do on the CFO side, through scaling, through getting her offers, the offer structure and pricing structure, getting the team structure and leadership stuff in place, like, are things I have seen her and other clients go through, and that very heavily inspired what we talk about in the business pillar of the incubator. And then separately, a conversation that you'll hear her say, like we've had, is making sure that she is also investing outside of her business. And that has helped her to build wealth and other sources of income outside of her successful business as a wife and as a mom of 3 little kids. And so if Sharise can do it, I promise you, you can do it too. So if you want support as you work through the, scaling of your business up from 100K to 250 to 500 to a million, working through all the logistics of making sure the team and the strategy works, all the way down to how do we actually allocate our profits to make sure that you, as the CEO, are also building wealth. Then please go apply for the Millionaire CEO Incubator. Go to sarahhyoung.com/incubator, fill out the application. You and I will have a consult where we just talk about your business and what we could do in the next 12 months to help you make more money and build wealth so that you can become work optional and upgrade your life. And as a reminder, the fall 2023 cohort, only the bonus for this cohort is you and I are going to have a private VIP day, either virtually or in my Charlotte office in Q4 to really kick off our 12 months together on the right foot. All right, so without further ado, I hope that you enjoy this week's episode. Sharise, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here.
So, first things first, tell me about you and, what you do and how you started your business and why.
Yes, yes. Well, first, personally, I'm a wife, I'm a mom to three little girls, Faith, Grace, and Joy. Faith is 4, Grace is 2, and Joy is about to be 1. So our house is always chaos and mayhem, but also beautiful at the same time. And I started my career way back when in journalism. As a matter of fact, I had a desire to be a broadcast journalist, to be a reporter on a local news station. When I graduated from college, I did that and moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time, and then quickly realized that was not what I thought it was and was not my calling. So I moved back to my hometown of Atlanta, started working in corporate communications, and then made my way to what I like to call education communications. And I took my first role in this industry at Atlanta Public Schools on the heels of what many people know as the national cheating scandal that Atlanta Public Schools went through. And so I quickly got thrown into the wolves with that role. And then that led to me working at Teach for America for some years, working at one of the largest national charter school networks based out of Texas for some years. And then that's when I realized lots of folks started to hit me up and wanted support with their communications work on the side. And so when I realized that my side hustle, providing additional communication support for friends and family and former colleagues, was actually bringing in more income than my full-time role, I said, wait a minute, something is happening here. And so I made the decision in September of 2019 to actually leave my full-time role at the time and step into consultancy as a communications consultant full-time. And it was a quick success, which was great. And I was determined that this was going to be my full-time gig as an independent consultant. And the demand continued to increase. And when the demand continued to increase, I realized that I needed to quickly grow a team, at least hire contractors at a minimum, but I wanted to be very intentional about how I did that. And one of the things I noticed as an independent consultant in the education comms industry was that I was one of very few people of color in this space, and one of even fewer Black women in this space as well. And so I was determined that as I was looking to hire people and work with people to build out my team, that I wanted my team to reflect the diversity that was missing in the education industry. And so I was very intentional about trying to hire more people of color in this space and help to increase the pipeline of people of color who are very talented and experts in the education sector. And so that's how SMJ Communications was born. And we are a full-time strategic communications firm. We're an all remote firm, and we work exclusively with schools, districts, single site charter schools, and nonprofit education organizations to support their strategic communications needs. So everything
Yeah.
from media and PR to social media, you name it, we help to provide that level of support.
Yeah. So I honestly forget that you worked for Teach for America. And not that I forgot, like
Yes.
I knew that, I just hadn't thought about it in a while. I didn't work for Teach for America. I was a teacher with Teach for America for 2 years, which I think is one of the reasons. Like you found me, I think, through our branding photographer, Denise. I feel
Yes.
like
Yes.
And I remember it was like, "Oh, so I have some understanding of what you do." I think what you said is super important, right? Like, you have this mission underlying what you do. I think working for the types of entities that you work for, like, you're working for disproportionately kids of color, and so having
Mhm,
that, like,
mhm.
same the people who do the work for those kids, I think it's important to have
Yep.
that perspective, so I just think that's amazing. I think you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank
So, yeah,
you.
like, it's almost been 2 years since I met
I
you.
know. I know.
Summer, fall 2021. Where were you at that time? And tell me about, like, what has changed since then? And
Yep.
just to sort of lay the foundation for y'all, I'm sure Sharise will not give herself the credit. But in 2021, I mean, growth wise, you were at low, mid six figure revenue.
Mhm.
From 2021 to 2022, I mean, you crossed over a million in 2022. And now in 2023, you took some time to stabilize a bit,
Yep.
which I want you to talk about what
Yeah.
happened there and why. But you are on track to well exceed your 2022 revenue despite having taken the time to stabilize. And so just kind of
Yep.
talk me through, like, where were you then and what were some of the things that changed to allow you to experience such insanely rapid growth?
Yeah. So in summer, fall 2021, I was in a place of one, never having seen that much income for the business in the low, mid six figures range. And also a little nervous about, okay, wait a minute, like this impacts, the amount of taxes I need to pay. I need to make sure I'm paying my employees appropriately, running, managing payroll, in the way that I need to, being thoughtful about our finances as a firm so that this can be sustainable. And so I was really in a moment of realizing I can no longer do this myself. And my little Google spreadsheet that I was playing around with was not going to cut it. At the same time, that I was very quickly trying to onboard and hire people to support this work. So there was a lot going on at the same time of me figuring out, okay, how do I make this a sustainable business, and have all of the support pieces in place, but also how do I, like, I can't stop the momentum that we're experiencing right now. So how do I quickly bring people into the fold, acclimate them to the way that we do the work? And so in this moment, I knew that finances just was not my level of expertise. And so that's how we found each other. And it was a match made in heaven. But at the same time, I was also in a moment of bringing people on and actively trying to balance how much of the work I needed to continue to actually do versus what I could start to delegate as well. So there was a lot of, like, growth and lessons learned happening. And then at the same time, like, naturally, with how quickly I was trying to grow the team, there was also a lot of loss in terms of the team at the same time, because I quickly realized who was a good fit, who was not a good fit, and started to rapidly figure out, like, what was the framework and also, like, the profile or the persona of the type of person and people that we needed to build our team at SMJ Communications.
Yeah. I remember you had I think it was all contractors in 2021,
Mhm. Yep.
and I
In
remember
2021,
saying
everybody.
I remember saying, "We need to look at some employees."
Exactly.
So, what I wrote down in terms of what I saw, from my perspective in from late 2021 through 2022, I think there were 2 key elements that are so crucial for people to understand in growing a business outside of the finance piece. I mean, obviously, like, you needed support on that front because the
Mhm,
volume
mhm.
of cash from 2021 to 2022, I mean, it was like, what, 30, 40K a month in revenue
Yep,
to
yep,
100K plus
yep.
a month, like, that just, like, think for a second about, like, 100K hitting your bank account, like, if you're not ready for that, that
Mhm.
can be a shock. But the things that
Yes.
I think I saw most dramatically shift from my perspective that I want you to give us some little insights on
Mhm.
were the way that you structured your offers and pricing and the way that you worked with your clients, I
Yep,
think was 1. 2 was the team structure, so shifting from, like,
yep.
contractors to employees, hiring some people who weren't a great fit. And then 3 is in your own self, like you've talked about,
Mhm.
being able to delegate. So, tell me, I guess start with, like, the way that you structure your offers and pricing, like, what were some of the things that you shifted there?
a couple of things. Prior to 2021 or fall of 2021, we were charging clients hourly, one, which I had to get into a debacle to realize, ooh, this is not going to work. Because there was a client who we were charging hourly, but they kind of had a ballpark investment spot that they wanted to stay at each month. And one month, I mean, they had crisis after crisis after crisis. And so they kept calling on us. And so we're racking up hours. And when the invoice went out, I remember the amount of anxiety I felt in sending out this invoice of like, oh gosh, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? And I was like playing around with the numbers. Okay, maybe we don't charge this many hours. Maybe we tweak these hours a little bit. Maybe I just eliminate my hours altogether, right? As the owner and the CEO. And I was like, no, no, you have to send it. So I sent it, and the client was frankly disgruntled, right? Like, what is this? Why is it so expensive? Why didn't you let us know? And I'm thinking, well, your contract says hourly. This is our hourly rate, and this is what it took to get the work done. But it was that moment that I realized, okay, this is not going to work. It wasn't a good experience for me as CEO. It wasn't a good experience for my team, right? And it wasn't a good experience for the client who had sticker shock at the end of the month. And so that's when I immediately said, we are no longer working on an hourly structure. We are going to work on a retainer structure. That way we can focus on the quality of our work versus the quantity of our hours, and our clients are very clear month to month on what they will be charged, and there's no surprises. And that was a game changer for us. We had happier clients. Our team was happier because we knew, right, the work that we were doing, and we could focus on that work versus focusing on the hours. And quite frankly, our work product and the quality of our work dramatically increased because we were able to really focus on what we were doing and not how quickly or slowly we had to get it done. And so that was a game changer for us. At the same time that I did that, it also helped to really streamline what our offerings were. Because at this point, if you had looked at our clients, we had multiple clients and everybody had a different price point. Everybody initially had a different retainer based on, where we were that month, what we had talked about, what we needed in terms of growth and what our targets were financially. And I realized this isn't sustainable either, right? There were some people who were paying very little for a lot. There were some people that were paying a lot for what seemed very little. And so we needed to streamline what we were charging clients across the board. And so we did that. And so we switched from just random retainers to 4 packages. And so we color coded them based on our branding. And we had a pink package, a gold package, a teal package, and a purple package. And that aligned with the level of support and the types of services that you would receive from our team from month to month. It also helped us realize from our operations and HR perspective who we needed to staff on the team, right? What level we needed in terms of if we needed a director or a VP on this particular account. And it also showed us, okay, we have gold top tier accounts. We have 3 of those. We have 2 purples, but we really need to focus on bringing in 3 teals over the next month to meet our financial goals. And so it really made the process smooth and efficient for us, not only financially, but also from an operational standpoint of how we're staffing. And it also made it easier for us to realize when we needed to pull the trigger on a new hire
Yeah.
as well. And so that was a game changer. And then that automatically pushed us to also revamp our proposal approach, because before we just had, little one-page proposals with a random amount that we threw on that. And so we switched from a proposal that just said, we do your PR and your media, we'll do your social media, to actually being what we call deliverables based. So we got very specific, like, yes, we're going to do your social media, but that means you get 4 posts per week, you get 1 reel per week, right? You get 2 videos per month. We'll send out 5 press releases within the duration of our partnership. And that made it even clearer to our clients and to us in terms of what they can expect to receive and what we were going to deliver. And that was another game changer for us. So I would definitely say switching from hourly to retainer base, getting a very clear proposal process in place, and switching from just offerings to actually deliverable based contracts and structures within our work. And then in addition to that, streamlining our offerings from just random retainers to 4 different packages that folks could choose from really changed the game for us in terms of how we showed up in our work, but also just overall client and customer satisfaction as well.
Yeah. So you went from hourly billing, doing anything and everything they needed to let's get specific about what you
Mhm.
actually need and what the client's goals are. And then you can tell them, okay, this is the deliverables that you need to make that happen. And here's your
Yep.
package, right? Like, how
Yep.
simple is that? Yeah, I know this is stuff that I say all the time, y'all. And it's just, I think it's so great to hear it from somebody else. Like, how did clients take it?
I was so worried that we would lose clients, right? In my mind, everyone was wanted hourly, everyone wanted us whenever they could have us and wanted everything. And what I realized is the moment we made that change, clients were totally fine. Oh, yeah, that's fine with us. And it was all about how we framed it, right? It wasn't, oh my gosh, we're making this big change, alert, alert. It was, hey, we want to make sure that we're being great stewards of your time and your investment. And so in order to do that, these are the things that we're going to change effective in 30 days. And everyone, literally everyone was totally fine with that. And we even had some clients that started to refer us to more people because they realized like, oh, so and so could use y'all, or oh my gosh, this is great. So it actually opened up lots of opportunity for new business for us. And I was kicking myself for not doing it sooner, but I had to experience those things and the debacle with the hourly invoice and all of that to really realize what we needed to put in place for long-term sustainability as a firm.
Yeah. It just becomes clear what you do and how you do it, which then
Hmm.
makes it easy to get referrals, right? Which
Yep.
you experience to go from mid six figures to over 1 million within a 12-month time frame, which is insane.
Yep.
Insanely amazing.
Yep.
Actually, I want to talk about team, but before that, it brings up another question. As you experience that growth, was it mostly referrals or where did the new clients come from?
Great question. So to date, we have only received new business off the strength of referrals and recommendations. So we've never had to do any sales or marketing, which is amazing, right? And also I love it because that means we always have that in our back pocket. So should we ever need to, we're able to then execute that sales and marketing muscle that we haven't had to leverage yet. And I think that speaks to the power of relationships in any business, right? I've just been very intentional about the relationships that I've cultivated throughout my career. And those have really been the backbone of helping to grow SMJ Communications. And then I've really worked to coach and develop my team to understand the power of relationships. And now I'm starting to see them really focus on relationships and cultivating authentic relationships with clients that then have led to clients renewing or referring us to other partners who we can work with. And so those two things coupled together really, really help to strengthen our referral base so far.
Yeah. I wanna repeat what she said. She's now well over $1 million in sales, and you said you have not had anybody come to you who wasn't a referral or from your personal relationships that you have. So
Correct.
those of you who say it can't be done, that's not right. It's not correct. Do you ask for referrals? Do you ask people like, "Hey, if you know anybody, send them my way," or do they just send them to you because they love you so much?
Yeah, so they just send them to us. We even when I first in 2021, one of the first things I did when I started growing the team was I launched a referral program and we called it Friends of SMJ, and you got a particular percentage of the profit from any clients who we signed that you referred, whether you were a contractor or whether you were just a friend or former colleague. And the funny thing is no one leveraged that. Like no one leveraged the Friends of SMJ. They were like, nope, we're just going to send you clients, and we don't need any payback for that. So that was very interesting as well. But yeah, it has literally been folks just sending us referrals and recommendations, or people hearing about us from other folks. And I think it's the power of relationships. I think it's also our focus on branding. We're very intentional about branding, and I also think it's really focusing on our unique value proposition. We know that there are tons of firms out there, and there are also a lot of firms, to be frank, who are experts in the education sector. But what truly sets us apart is our team is staffed with not only communications experts, but also former teachers and educators. So we have folks on our team who have been on the front lines in the classroom every day, working with kids, cultivating relationships with parents, and also our focus on diversity and equity. And the fact that we can say we are filling a huge gap in this sector, and our staff represents Black and Brown men and women who often don't have a seat at the table, making critical decisions about communications and how we're communicating with mostly marginalized communities across the country. And so I think those things are what have set us apart and really helped to strengthen that referral base for us as a company.
Yes. And, strengthen honestly, I feel like that's the most important part, right? But like despite, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but despite you
Yeah.
raising your prices, despite going
Hmm.
to a pretty high ticket model, like you still
Yep.
have, as far as I know, a pretty hefty backlog or like projected, pipeline coming in because
Hmm.
the brand and the value proposition is so good that they want to work with you even with a high ticket offer, right?
Yep. And
So,
I think one thing that's important to note is as all of this was happening, one of the things I started to realize, and I think you'll remember this, Sarah, at our peak in 2022, we were working with almost 20 clients at a time, and then started to see, like, wait a minute. And this was when we had the package offerings and all of that. But what I noticed was we were signing a lot of our lowest tier packages, and we weren't getting as many of the high ticket packages from clients. And so we started to be really intentional about what business we would take on, right, and what business we would not take on, because what was happening is we were literally working at an over capacity to be able to effectively support these 20 clients. And so another big decision that we made as a team was that we were going to get real picky in terms of who we worked with, and we were going to set a standard of we did not want to work with more than 10 to 12 clients at a time. And we were going to voice that. So we explained to all of our clients that we're now switching to a model where we want to work with significantly fewer clients at a time. And that's because we want to make sure we have the capacity, the time, the bandwidth to really become a part of our clients' teams, really become a day to day partner, and make sure that we're providing high quality work consistently throughout the duration of our partnership. And again, I was nervous about the reaction, but folks loved it. And then that enabled us to now we're putting that in our in any marketing, right, that we are doing. And we're able to put that in our proposals, right? Like we're only working with 10 to 12 clients as a time. We literally have one more spot left for this fall. Let us know within the next few weeks how you'd like to proceed. But it's really helped with our new business process. And then I'd add to that, in addition to helping with our new business process, it's also allowed us to start to generate a wait list. So once we filled those spots, not only have we realized that we're filling it with higher tier clients now, but also we're building a wait list so that if at any point a worst case scenario happens and a client has to end our partnership for some reason, or we just want to take on more new business, we can immediately go to our wait list and start partnering with new clients as well.
yeah. Yes. And so that came about. When would you have your third? Was it
I
November
had
or
my third in
December?
September. Yep, September
Oh,
of
why am I thinking
2022.
of all of my months run together, y'all? So in September, right? Oh, that's right. You came back in January.
Yep, and
So
I was supposed to have her in November, so you are right.
yeah,
She just came early.
you, for Q4 of 2022, you are pretty much out. I mean, I know you were still there
Mhm.
behind the scenes, checking
Yep,
on things, but what we kind of talked about was after the insanity that was 2022, just the rapid growth, the rapid team
yep.
growth, you put a pause on really wanting to even grow revenue in the first half of 2023
Mhm.
because you needed, for one, like having your third, recovering from that, like everybody needs to be able to pause. And
Yep.
I think too, you needed to shuffle your team around a bit, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you needed to do a reset because you have, and I've talked about in some of my other podcast episodes, we go through growth periods and then
Yep.
what I would call profit periods. And so we go through these, you can't be in growth mode all the time. And so your 2022 through September when you left was a massive period of growth. And so then we had to just sort of sit and restabilize a bit.
Hmm.
And so, you hired a bunch of team members in 2022. I guess, like, talk to me about in
Yeah.
2023, what were some of the things that you had to do, especially on the team front, to
Yeah.
stabilize, to prepare yourself for what's coming next?
I realized in 2022, about the time that I was about to go on maternity leave, that if we were going to be very intentional about focusing on fewer, more robust client partnerships, that my team needed to reflect that. And with the rapid growth in 2022, to be frank, we were hiring everyone we could to just have the capacity and the bodies to be able to get the work done, which I realized was not a sustainable model, right, for our team if we were going to continue to provide high quality, like we like to call it, white glove service, right, for our clients. And so um, I did a lot of thinking and said, I'm going to put a pause on bringing in any more new business because I needed to take a moment to make some changes to the team, right? And that included removing some folks from the team who we realized were no longer a good fit. They just weren't aligned with the mission and the vision and the values of SMJ Communications, and to really do some internal work on coaching and developing. We had grown so quickly that literally, if you would talk to anybody on our team at that time, everybody had had a very different onboarding experience, like very different. And so my concern was, wait a minute, if I'm continuing to grow and the folks who report to me are then going to have direct reports to themselves, if I don't get in and identify what our current challenges are and really get everyone on the same page, we're going to have a problem if I'm going to have a team full of folks, but we're going to be doing our own things and there's not going to be consistency. This also came about as I knew I was going to be heading out for maternity leave. I knew that if I eliminated myself, I wanted to be able to trust that the team could basically still do the work that I was helping to very closely oversee and review day to day. And that's when I realized, we need to make some key core changes to this team, because I want to make sure that even if I'm not there, I don't want a bunch of Sharices, but I do want folks who I know can still deliver on what we like to call the SMJ way. And so I said, in order to do this, when I get back, we're going to pause any growth. We're going to just stabilize and stay where we are in terms of the amount of business that we take on. And I want to take this time that I would typically take trying to, working through new business and proposals and referrals and recommendations to really coach and develop the team. And so that's what we did in all of Q1, got everyone on the same page, made some critical team changes as well, and even decreased the amount of people that we had on the team. Because I realized if we focused on the folks that were a right fit for the team, we could actually take on a good amount of clients without people feeling overwhelmed and overworked, because they were very efficient in the work that they were doing and they understood how we should be showing up for our clients as well. And so it was nerve wracking, but it was worth it, because now, just in Q1 and Q2 alone, I feel the most confident I've ever felt as an owner and a CEO, of stepping away, of taking vacations, of not being in the weeds day to day, because I have a team that I know can execute without me having to be in the mix at all.
So good. What are some of the tactical ways that you lead your team to make sure that they do that?
A couple of things I changed in Q1 that I think were big game changers for us. One was in communications. You can imagine I'm constantly reviewing content and deliverables all day, every day. But I was doing that initially because of the rapid growth from a place of, I'm just going in, tracking changes. Here you go, send it back to the client. But I wasn't taking the time to coach and develop the team. And so I actually started recording Loom videos anytime I would review a deliverable to provide context and insight and questions, right, for my team. So that hopefully I'm taking that extra 5 minutes to record that video. And I literally have the document up in real time talking through it, so that the next time they do a similar document, they can either refer back to that video, or they've already learned and it's ingrained in them, like how they should approach that type of deliverable for our clients moving forward. So that was huge. So just finding those extra moments to really be intentional about the feedback that I was providing to the team. The other thing is we implemented weekly one-on-ones. So I had weekly one-on-ones with folks from the team where we would thought partner, we would workshop client deliverables and challenges as well. And then we also put in an internal brainstorm structure across the team. So every Monday, they have office hours with our project manager. I do not join them, and that's intentional. And they use that time to thought partner and brainstorm about client work, ideas, things they need to take to client calls, solutions, problem solving. And that's been a huge game changer for the team as well. So I like to say that my leadership style is very hands on and intentional in terms of focused feedback, but balancing that with giving the team the time and the space to collaborate and brainstorm with their colleagues and peers. And I think that's what's been a huge game changer for us as a team across the board.
Yeah. Taking the extra time to do the reviews and instead of just changing it to be done with it, right, which would be the fastest
Hmm.
way, it takes
Hmm.
more time in the short term, but in the long term, you have a team that you've now trained in your way of doing things, which I think is obviously really crucial to
Yeah.
you being able to step away. Do you do like formal reviews with them?
Yeah, yeah. So that was one thing. I'm glad you brought that up that I forgot to mention. So one of the things we quickly implemented in Q1, so there's a couple of things. We always had a bonus structure, but as you know, that was on an annual basis. And so one of the things we did coming into 2023 is we switched that to a quarterly bonus structure, which we felt one was incentive for the team, but also allowed us an opportunity to do quarterly performance reviews because I realized all of 22 went by and folks weren't getting reviews and feedback until the end of the year. And so in Q1, we launched our quarterly review process and our quarterly bonus process this year. And in addition to our performance management system that we leverage, where you do, the traditional feedback and one-to-one feedback, and they do their self-review, and then I provide the manager self-review, we also developed a comprehensive rubric for every role within the firm, and it was divided into all of the roles and responsibilities that match the job description for that particular role. And then it was a section that gave basically expectations for not meeting expectations, for meeting expectations, and exceeding expectations. And it was also, and everything had a number value. So we were able to go through as HR and ops and mark where people landed in each of those roles and responsibilities. And then at the end, we got a total number that told us whether or not they were meeting, not meeting, or exceeding expectations. This was critical because we had some very tough conversations across the team, but folks really were able to see in a very different way. Oh, so when you say I need to work on this, like this is what you mean, or this is how I move from not meeting expectations to exceeding expectations. And so the conversations were tough, but the team was so receptive to it. They said for the first time in their careers, for most of them, they had never received that much feedback and that much, that level of clarity in the feedback during their performance reviews. And what we saw, and this is like hot off the press as of last week, is that when we did Q2 performance reviews at the end of Q2 just a week ago, when I say literally the full team jumped leaps and bounds from where they were in quarter one, it was incredible. And I think that speaks to them getting really clear feedback, a rubric that really defined what they needed to do to move to the next level, and very clear benchmarks as well. And then using that one on one time and the feedback time that I'd already put in place in Q1 to really speak to those things specifically in their areas of opportunity, as we like to call them, not areas of improvement. And so that was a huge thing for us too.
That's such a good tactical tip. I actually don't even think I realized you did the whole rubric thing. I need to do that. I need somebody to make it for me.
Yep.
Yeah, on the quarterly bonus thing, like that's something I always like to recommend to people
Hmm.
because, I feel like from the corporate world, we're used to doing annual bonuses. At least I was. And for me, I find like number one, I see with a lot of clients, they just give out money, just like, oh, here's a
Hmm.
bonus. And it's not tied to any sort of achievement. And I'm like, no, no, like this is an incentive. We want to incentivize the things that you need for your team to be doing. And so we're tying it to actual metrics of like what it's different for every business, right? But like
Hmm.
what are the things that define success for them and their bonus is based on that. And then paying it out quarterly in quarterly increments ties it so much more closely. So like when they do a great job in Q1, they get money in Q1. Like they
Mhm.
get incentivized. And so I think rather than waiting until a full year later, they get that incentive close, which I think is crucial. And on the rubric thing, I mean, I think it sounds like, oh wow, that's a lot. But when it comes to team, I feel like as a person in my corporate life, I had over 20 people on my team.
Mhm.
Now I've got 6, I think, and I don't know how many you have. Double that easily.
Yeah.
A lot. But, like, communication is like, clear communication because as when you have a team, like, you are the leader, and I think
Mhm.
sometimes we forget that we get into business owner land, and we wanna go off and,
Yep.
like, do our business owner stuff, but, like, you are a leader, and so leaders communicate clearly
Yep.
what your expectations are, and so I think all of those are, like, such good tips. We could keep going about this, but I have,
I
like,
know.
I have other things I wanna talk about, and I don't wanna make this, like, a 2-hour-long podcast episode. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Of
On
course.
the personal front, maybe not personal, but for yourself, what were some of the things that you personally had to work on to be able to go through that period of rapid growth and sustain it
Yep.
and, have babies and
Yep.
do all of that?
I would say in that period of rapid growth, one of the things that I was so frustrated about is I felt like, I mean, I was clearly overworking, stress, drained at any moment, anxiety, depression, you name it. It was all coming up and happening just because of that rapid growth, how quickly I grew a team. And I was like, wait a minute, like I have to work, right? And I have to get the job done and we have to deliver. And then I was so frustrated because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't step away. I've hired all these people, we're making this great money, and I still have to be in the weeds day to day. So that was the aha moment I had at the top of this year of like, it starts with me, it starts with coaching and developing, it starts with clear feedback and realizing that it's not as simple as making lots of money and hiring lots of people. That's just a band aid approach. I had to really get in and identify the problems, put solutions in place, and create the team that would then enable me to trust and know that they've got it day to day and then give me the confidence to step away. And in order to do that, as crazy as it sounds, I thought the solution to continue to grow and show up as a great leader was for me to work hard. Somewhere in my life, something happened, I saw something, and I was told that lots of money was equaled hard work, like lots of hard work, right? And so I felt like if I wasn't stressed, wasn't overwhelmed, wasn't anxious, wasn't working all hours of the day, I told myself it was actually imposter syndrome that I didn't deserve this level of money or this successful business. And what I realized is I had to take a step back and take time to invest in myself. So that showed up in investing in workout, like my daily workout and health, my mental health, and hiring a therapist, investing in my professional development. I was so focused on developing my team that I lost sight of my professional development and hiring and investing in a business coach. And that really pushed me to become a better leader. And so I realized when I took time to rest, took time to relax, went to Pilates, right, during my lunch block, actually stepped away to eat lunch, those things that I was not doing because I told myself I needed to stay in the business to make more money, we actually ended up exceeding all expectations financially when I invested in myself first. So I think that was the biggest shift for me of taking literally the way I've shown up my entire life in terms of hard work equals great results and realizing that rest and intentionality and invested in myself actually equals great results. And so it's still something transparently I am actively working on day by day. And there are moments where I revert back to my old ways. But I found that being intentional and invested in myself has been the ultimate in making sure I'm able to show up as a leader and show up for my team so that I can coach and develop them effectively day by day.
Yeah. You and I have really similar fears and, like, anxiety and
Hmm.
triggers.
Yep.
And I know this because we went on the same retreat back in
Yes.
May, and I will tell everybody listening, Charisse, I, like, signed up on this to go on this retreat for, like, women business owners, and I found out after the fact, like, oh, Charisse is also going completely independently of me. The irony is just
Yes.
I don't know. It was just like meant to be. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I have a client going on this retreat, but you and we talked about it there, like just a lot of like really similar like triggers. And I know a
Mhm.
lot of people listening have the same fears and the same mindset of like working hard equals
Mhm.
success because we're all taught that, right? And
Exactly.
so I think understanding that, like, ironically or not ironically, but counterintuitively, you stepping back, you pulling back and putting more time into yourself takes away the limitations on your business because it enables you to
Mhm.
show up in the time that you do put into your business and be that much more effective of a leader, I think is so, so crucial. So I'm really glad you said that. Tell me about what you bought last week.
Yes. So I've always had this goal, even from a child. I love the beach. I love water. Like that's my happy place and my center of always having a beach house. And when we were at the retreat, this came up. We did a lot of like visualization exercises and goal setting. And one of the things that I wrote down was that in the next 5 years, I wanted to have a beach house. And I
5
visualized this beach
years.
house. You're right. What it looked like, everything. Well, fast forward, I don't know, 3 weeks. My family and I went on a trip to the beach, and the beach house next door was on the market. And so that prompted me to like, well, let's just go look at properties. And we ended up looking at the one next door and putting in an offer. And so last week we actually closed on our beach house rental property, which is super, super exciting. And I say that not to like boast, brag, right? None of that, but I truly, truly believe that none of that would have happened without me being intentional about how I grow the business, me stopping making decisions for the business from a place of fear and being overwhelmed. And it would not have happened if I had not shifted to that focus on myself, right? And investing in myself and also realizing that I can work really hard and have a successful business, but it also doesn't mean all of my eggs have to be in that basket. I'm still a person at the end of the day. I have other goals, other things I want to pursue and accomplish. And so I think that opened my eyes to really doing other things that I had on my goals list and my vision board. And so that's how that came to fruition.
You literally manifested that. You
Like
did.
literally.
And, I will say, like, your business in a large part, like, funded it, right? Like,
Hmm. Yep.
because you have a business that is highly profitable and you took some of that, which I
Yep.
know I started harping on you about, what are you
I
going to start
know.
investing in a long,
I
long time
know.
ago. You've had Airbnbs, to be fair.
Yep.
This is another level of like, the income that this will generate
Oh yeah.
will be well beyond what
Hmm.
your existing Airbnbs will do. Also, the
Totally.
investment, right? I remember you were sitting in my office a few weeks back or like a month ago and you had a moment of like, "Oh, this loan, I've never had this
Yeah.
much debt before."
Yes.
But you did it
Yes.
anyways because the
Hmm.
numbers made sense, right? I'm
Yep.
like, if it makes money, take what these people selling it say with a grain of salt. If it makes money
Hmm.
even in like a worst case scenario, go for it, right?
Yep.
I'm so proud.
Thank you. Yeah. And now what we're going to bring in on rental income July and August alone from the house we just closed on is more than what we brought in on our Airbnb last year. So like it's a very right, it's a very different level and a great position to be in, but it definitely, and Sarah knows I've always struggled with like, of course you pay yourself as a CEO or as an owner or a founder, and then there's a lot of stress in the day to day. And so one of the things that was tough for me to grapple with was, well, what are the other benefits, right? Besides my salary that I feel like I could go to a full-time job and get or do something else and get like what are the benefits to truly owning a business. And Sarah, you kept pushing me on like investments, like trust me, this is an asset, like there are other things that come from this. And the purchase of that beach house was super eye-opening because everything that Sarah's been preaching to me, I saw it come to light, like, oh, this is what she meant. Okay, yeah. This makes sense.
Yeah, well, so explain a little bit further, what
Mhm.
was it? What did I say like, "Oh, this is what she meant." What did I mean?
Yeah. So I remember you kept telling me that even, yes, you have a salary, but at the end of the day, your entire business, your profits, what your business is making, that is an asset for you. right? And that you will not have that asset if you gave up the business and went back to a full-time job, right? Or if you just gave up the business entirely, like you would not have that asset. And so while you may not feel it, right, day to day, and what you're seeing in your bank account, your personal bank account is simply your salary, there is so much more opportunity that this business can bring. And I heard it, right? I heard you say that multiple times, but I actually saw it throughout the purchasing process because I mean, I had to pull my business financials, right? My business and the profit from the business was the main reason why we were approved, right, for this beach house, and showing the projections and the profit and loss statement for the business, and even the profit from the business helped to fund some of the closing costs and the down payment from the house. And that's when I realized this is what Sarah meant by this business as an asset. And if I worked full time, I'd have the salary, but frankly, I would not have been approved for this beach house because I would not have had the backing of the business and the profit of the business to make it a reality.
I just got full body chills. Like, I'm so proud right now. Yeah, and, personally too, like, I've told you this, we're under a
Mhm.
contract, my husband and I, to buy a
Yep.
business, and I'm having the exact same experience where
Mhm.
the bank is looking at my business alone and approving it,
Yeah.
and, the cash flow is coming from what we've been able to fund in large part from my business. So,
Yep.
it is a thing, and you are going to be able to sell your business one day
Mhm.
at the right time for multiple
Mhm.
7 figures of cash are going to come in your pocket. And along the way, right, taking some of this cash out and investing it in other things. So you've got a
Yep.
nice, well diversified investment portfolio. Like that is, I wish everybody would do this more.
Oh, that diversification matters. Something happened, as crazy as it sounds, when we closed on that beach house last week in my mindset of, oh, wait a minute. I have more assets, more investment opportunities, and all my eggs aren't in this one basket of SMJ communications. I'm going to still see this business through. It's going to be successful. My team's going to be great. We're going to grow and prosper. But that place that I was making these knee jerk decisions from and always being overwhelmed and fearful somehow seemed to disappear a little bit for me. And I feel like that's because I know that there are multiple streams of income, like in high income streams that are funding my life, helping, me and my family, helping to put my business in an even better position. And so there was definitely a mindset shift of like, if I ever wanted to, I'm not going to do this anytime soon. But if I ever wanted to walk away, I have enough in assets. And I've heard you say this and have been very transparent about this on social media as well. I have enough to walk away to be able to do that and us to be comfortable for a long time.
Yeah, it changes the way that you show up, right? Like
Hmm.
you finally realize I don't have to do this crap that I don't want to do. And so it finally opens up this like safety net almost, right?
Yep.
Of I don't have to do it anymore. And so
Yep.
now, for me, it's like the tax work, especially. I held on to it for a
Hmm.
long time for me. And it finally unlocked this like realization of like, now I'm choosing to do this. And so is
Yep.
what I'm choosing to do in line with what I want to do as a human being? And as you
Totally.
know, the answer is no. And so I've
Right.
hired tax people to do all the tax work in my
Hmm.
business. My goal is to never prep a tax return ever again in my
Hmm.
life except for my own. And now
Yes.
I'm like going down this whole other path of having an
Yes.
entire second business. And it was all stemming from that shift of realizing I've built my business up to a place where I have the steady income, I have the assets to where you're not tied to continuing on that hamster wheel forever. It
Yep.
is it is hard to put into words like the like you said, the unlock in your brain, right? Of
Oh,
just
yeah.
what it opens up for you. So I'm really glad you said that actually.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
actually
I
made my
feel
job more enjoyable
yeah.
because I was operating and leading this company from a place of I have to do this, right? Like there's no option, I have to do this. And now it's from a place of I choose to do this because I enjoy it and it's what I'm passionate about. And it's helping me to show up differently, even in how I approach the work from day to day.
Yes. You have so many good nuggets. And you're such an amazing like the embodiment of like the success that you've had. And I think, I don't know, it's just amazing to hear it. So, final two questions. First one, shameless plug. you've been a client of me and my team for almost 2 years. Tell me, like, what is the best part about working with us?
Well, two things. Not having to worry about the day-to-day finances, because I know there are very smart, intelligent folks who are like tracking that and working through that. But it's also the level of partnership that I'm able to have with you and your team. And it's not just like, okay, here are the numbers, right? Here's your profit, like here's what you made, go forth and conquer. It's let's sit down and strategize and thought partner and how are we going to move money, where's the best place, how much do we need in savings, what should we be investing in. It's the long-term strategy piece that is also incredibly helpful. I mean, there have been a number of calls where we've talked about that personally and for the business, where we've talked about what makes sense and when it makes sense to hire. So everything that we do together with Young and Co really helps to lead to the growth of our company, the success of our company long term, even in things that may not even directly deal with finances. And so that's been incredibly beneficial, like incredibly beneficial. And I feel like you and your team truly value the people that you work with and want to see them succeed. And that shows in the level of care and attention and detail that you all give throughout this partnership.
I appreciate that.
Of
Thank you for
course.
answering my shameless plug time. You're one of my favorite people, you know this anyways.
Same.
So yeah, I mean it's true, like we work with mostly it's like you work with clients who you
Mhm.
want to have an impact on. I feel the same way. Like I want more women business owners, people of color business owners,
Yep.
like historically marginalized people. Like
Mhm.
I think the fact that you have this business you're going to sell for multiple millions of dollars, you have this income that enables you to like upgrade your life now, you are able to invest, like, that is powerful, powerful stuff. So, that actually brings me to my last question I ask everybody
Yeah.
I interview. Thinking of life upgrades, not financial upgrades, what is a life upgrade that your business has enabled you to do?
To be more present, which I think is a true life upgrade. We can never get moments back. We can never get minutes back. And I feel like the majority of my life, I have been in this hamster wheel of never ending work and overwhelm and to do lists. And for the first time in forever, I feel like my business has put me in a position to have permission to be able to be present in life and with my children and with my husband and my family and my friends. And that's honestly all that I can ask for. That's something that money can never buy, but my business has enabled me to be able to step away when I need to and when it matters most, and to not have to be fully in the day to day so that I can be present and show up in life like I want to.
Yeah, so important. I think especially as a mom, I remember in my corporate life, just everybody who had kids was like always working, like picking them up late
Hmm.
from daycare and like almost bragging about it. And I remember
Right.
I was pregnant and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, there's
Hmm.
nothing that's going to be more important than time with my kid. And I can be successful and do both. And I think having a
Exactly.
business that enables you to do that is amazing. I am so grateful for you, sharing all of this. I think just hearing the way that you talk about your business, the way that you think, I think hopefully you're hearing the action that Charisse takes, like her time from seeing a problem and finding a solution and implementing the solution is quick. That's one of the things that makes you successful is being able to just run with things. And you heard her even say in the offers and the team, like she didn't get it right the first time, but she kept
Hmm.
going until it works and will continue to iterate that process. It's a never
Yep.
ending process of
It is.
working on your strategy and working on yourself too, right? Like we all just constantly have things we need to work on too. So I appreciate you sharing. I just think it's so important to
Yes.
hear all of the behind the scenes. There's so few women who make it to the level you've made it to. I think it's just amazing to share your story. So I'm so
Thank you.
grateful.
Thank you. And thank
Where
you for being a huge part of this story
Yes,
as well.
I'm glad I was too. It's really fun to
Yes.
watch. Where can people find you and connect with you and follow your journey?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram, Threads, all the things at Sharise M. Johnson. And then our firm is at SMJ Comms. So SMJCOMMS. And then our website is smjcomms.com.
Go follow along. And we didn't even talk about you have your nonprofit stuff you're
I
doing and all
know.
these things. Like, go follow along. She's doing some
Yes.
amazing stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, and I'll see everybody back next week.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.